Good evening, folks. Welcome to the August 22nd, 2023 meeting of the Northfield Selectboard. We will call this meeting to order. First up on our agenda tonight, we have a scheduled appointment for 6 p.m. Cody Gibbons, highway truck driver laborer. Cody, come on forward. So it appears that you seek interest for a highway truck driver slash laborer position for the town of Northfield.
Yes.
So where did you seek interest in such a position? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's just kind of work that I like to do and kind of growing up around and just looking to do something a little different and figured this would be a good opportunity.
How did you hear about this position?
Through people, just like through online, I think it was.
Online, yeah. So I see you have quite a background and a history with laborer work and doing all sorts of different types of manual labor operations.
Yep.
Okay. Structural steel certification.
Yep.
Nice. Do you have any questions? I know we kind of went over that in the screening and hiring at that point, but
no, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Tommy, anything?
No, I think he'll be a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes, just to mention, he already has his CDL. He's already signed up for hoisting. I mean, he's done that on his own. So, I think he's a good fit for the town.
Yeah, so like I think I might have explained in one of the prior interviews, we like to bring candidates forward, so gives the town a chance to see you. If you had any final questions for us, the appointing authority. If not, then that's pretty much it. We keep it pretty simple. You made it this far, so you've, as far as I'm concerned, you've pretty much earned the position. Now we just need to take care of the formalities. So if I could hear a motion, that will be at a grade 7, step 2.
I'd like to make a motion to hire Cody Gibbons at a grade 7, step 2 as a highway truck driver and laborer.
Second.
I have a second on that motion. Okay. Any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous passing. Thank you. Welcome to the town of Northfield, Cody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing how things will be going. All right. Okay, so we have up at 6:15 another appointment, but I think we'll try to get through other business at that point. So I will go right to citizens' concerns. Are there any citizens' concerns at this time?
Yes.
Barry, please come forward.
Thank you. I have real concerns about the way that things have gone with the safety center. We're basically at 3 strikes at this point. The last desperate effort to buy a building that was way oversized and not appropriate for the use, to me and some other people in town, just smelled of potential scope creep, which is what I deal with every day in government contracts. They always add on a little more, and somewhere along the line someone has to pay for those. The vote that night, I think, was more of a no confidence vote than it was a no vote, as much as I hate to say. We've got to get our feet back on the ground with this safety center. We're a small town. Look at what Warwick just did. There was an article in the paper, I don't know if anyone saw it this week. They, through internal efforts, put together a fire station much smaller than what we need for less than $300,000. I understand that we're bound by Massachusetts municipal rules, just like we are with our schools. We have legislation in Boston that occurs that puts us in a position where we can't afford to bus the kids around and whatnot, and they're only now getting maybe 20% of the way towards the funding that it really needs that they promised us that we're not getting. We get all of these things put on us that we really can't deal with. With the fire personnel, there's a tremendous problem with decontamination. I run a business in New Hampshire, and we could not get away with the things that go on in a municipality like here. Municipalities get a pass on some of these things. We can't get it. We've got a real problem in protecting those people. You know, we've gone along, we've stuttered and stumbled and tried to do the best we can with people with good intentions. We've basically blown $1 million and we've got nothing. Not one darn thing. But people upset, something we couldn't build. You know, I was shocked when I really saw what was on those plans and the type of money it was. It was north of $800 a square foot. That's the peak and beyond what a municipal building typically is built for by modern architectural standards. Do the research, it's all there. It's way at the top. I'm building a building right now that's 25 feet tall, structural steel building, to all of the energy codes built, all the Boca building codes. It has a crane system in it that is not included in the price of the building that could pick any one of our fire trucks right up off the ground in a single lift. It's $120 a square foot. We've got to go back to the drawing board. Everybody has good intentions. Maybe we need some other people with good intentions. There's a few essential people that I believe personally need to be on the committee, and one is Skip Donnell because of his vast knowledge. There's certain people that are not going to be able to be replaced. But we've got to do something different. I understand the meeting tonight is going to start discussing that. But it's time for this town to shift gears. I'm one of the naysayers. I'm one of the fiscal conservatives, and I always will be, because I'm not going to let the town that I was born in blow money on something stupid. It just isn't going to happen. Not on my watch, not while I live here. Everybody at our last meeting said, well, the naysayers won't do anything. Well, I volunteered. I put in a citizen's interest form, and I got a very quick and polite response of, there are no positions open on the committee right now. As far as I know, we have nobody on the committee with any building experience, which is essential when you have a committee to do a building. We've got to regroup. I think that you folks need to look at who's on the committee, look at their qualifications, and think about what you're really going to do, so we don't have all these no confidence votes, because if we keep going down the road we're going down, we're just going to have one after the other after the other.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
listening to me.
concern,
All right.
Gary. Yeah.
Have a nice night. I wish I could stay and listen to the other part of the meeting, but I can't.
All right.
Thank
It'll
you.
be on recording.
All right, thank you.
I want to hear it.
Any other citizens' concerns at this time?
I have a point of order about citizens' concerns. At a previous meeting, I spoke as a citizen during citizen concern time, even though I'm on the select board, and it was posited that that might not be acceptable. But I won't, and I spoke to Andrea after the fact, and she said that it wasn't acceptable.
Okay.
I want you to know that I have spoken to the lawyer, and it is acceptable. I do not leave my First Amendment rights at the door when I come in and am on the
Okay.
select
Then
board.
you may speak as.
I just wanted to make that point. And
Yeah.
during that meeting, my comments as a citizen were expurgated from the minutes, and I'd just like them restored and a chance to.
Okay. Is this at our last meeting or the previous meeting?
No, this was, Sandra knows which one it was because she removed them.
Okay. Well, when we find them at some point, we will have them reinserted and we will discuss it.
Okay.
But now is not the time, since it's not an agenda item. I was made aware at the last meeting through our administrative personnel that this would be the case. So I'm already aware of it. So
Okay.
now that you've told me, we're all set.
Great.
So great.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good. What time is it? 10:50. Okay. Speaking of review and approval of the warrants, we'll get that out of the way. not minutes, warrants. Do I have a motion for the 8/23/2023 payroll warrant?
I motion that we approve the 8/23/23 payroll warrant of $77,075.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on that motion?
Yes.
Yes.
In order to, we're fiscally responsible, we have a fiduciary responsibility, and we're the ones that sign these papers. But I've been told that we can't have these or access to these papers more than 1 hour before the meeting. And I just don't think that's enough time. For the payroll, I think we know that's a regular recurring expense, but these, to go through all of these bills and pays, if we want to look at them, and we probably should because we're signing our name to it,
Yeah.
I don't think an hour is long enough.
Yeah, an hour is not a lot of time. I suppose we could always just visit the town accountant anytime we want during the
No,
payroll period.
I came to the town administrator and asked, and she said the only time it would be available was the
She
hour
finishes-
before the meeting.
Well, at least I think we said after 4 o'clock.
You
but
said 5, but if 4 o'clock,
She does the warrant on Tuesday.
Okay.
So if we want to make it longer, then we're going to have to change the warrant schedule. And then warrants will have to be signed on a Tuesday or available, and then I don't know how we will then not make them available for 2 weeks for signature. So
Because people have to get paid. We can't
Absolutely.
really wait that long.
right. So the payroll is due from Sunday. The payroll is due on Monday. I mean, you can look at the payroll. She usually has the payroll done, although she probably doesn't produce the warrant till morning. But the vendor for town departments, their bills are due Tuesday morning, which means
Right.
that she spends Tuesday putting together the warrant and has it usually ready by 4 o'clock. We go down and get it by 5, but unless it's a particularly heavy warrant, she's usually done by 4 o'clock.
Okay.
But if she's processing a warrant, unless you're going to move your meeting day or move the whole schedule on warrant days, bills will have to sit for 2 weeks until you then sign them.
well, obviously we don't want the bills to
Right,
sit,
right.
but I think an hour, I mean, if we're actually doing our job and reading this and looking at it, an hour is not enough time for these 2 sheets for everybody to have a chance to look at it.
Then we'll have to change the warrant schedule.
Okay. Then we will consider that. But
We'll have to make bills due. That would mean that we can make them due at the end of last week,
Right.
but then anything that comes between Friday and Tuesday, 4 or 5 days, has to wait almost 3 weeks, and wait another
well, as
4
long
days
as
and 2
as
weeks.
long as that's okay to have done. I just don't want.
Well,
to
there's just a
Is
couple of
she
bills
asking
that-
for another hour?
No, I think
That
sounds
it's
like more than
available,
that.
or, I mean, or do we have to change the whole schedule?
I mean, we said, I don't, whether
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
4 or
if-
5, I mean, at this point, I mean, we said 4 o'clock is we could certainly have it available, but
Everybody in here has to sign this, and by signing it says that we're responsible for what's in here.
well,
I've been signing it for
you're
5
not
years,
responsible
so
for it. You're actually
we're
just
not
approving
responsible
the
for it. We're
treasurer
only-
to pay the bills.
Yeah, we're approving the treasurer to pay the
Okay.
bills.
Yeah,
So.
but I mean, we'll have to change we'll have to shift when the bills are due, and then anything that comes after that period of time won't be paid for another 2 weeks. So we have to be careful because some of our bills, 3 weeks is a long time for them to sit.
I mean, the money was
I
raised and
agree.
appropriated at town meeting. That's how town government
So,
works at this
I mean,
level.
I can
so.
talk to Aaron, but
No,
Tuesdays.
if
we
it can
could
be ready
change
by
the day.
4 so that people can actually have a chance to, I don't know.
No, I mean, if that's not, I mean, I can certainly speak to Aaron if you want to
I'm not
change it.
interested, first of all, I don't want people to not be paid.
No.
And I don't want, or not be paid on time. And I'm not interested in throwing a monkey wrench. I just want to make sure that we're doing our job and we're doing it carefully. That's all. So, if it can be ready at 4, I can come then and look at it. Because for me, it's really important, I think. So,
It's also kind of an unlimited amount of time after the meetings too.
after I've already signed it.
You don't have to sign it.
You
during
don't
the
have
meeting.
to sign it during the meeting. You can sign it after the meeting.
Okay, so I can abstain from the vote and then sign it after the meeting.
That's
All right.
your choice.
But then we don't have, okay.
Well, we're still in the motion. If there's no more further discussion, we will take a vote on it at this time. No more comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That takes care of
I
that.
already read this.
We will revisit the vendor warrant at a later time because we have a 6:15 meeting, special events permit for the 4 Star Brewery with a temporary one-day liquor license, B2C2 Cycling. Please come forward.
I am Liz LaFawn from Four Star Farms. I just want to
Okay.
correct, it's the farm that is requesting, not the brewery.
Not the brewery. Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's written on the application on top. It's just how it got on there.
Yep, we're often confused as the same business, but we're actually two different entities.
Well, thank you
Just
for
so we
clearing that
have
up.
Sure.
So you seek a temporary one-day liquor license.
Yes, so I seek that and the one-day special event permit, as our farm would like to host a small beer festival on Saturday, October the 7th, from noon to 4 p.m.
Nice.
Essentially, what we would like to do, we have a long history of growing hops. This is our 15th growing season, and so we want to celebrate that and also celebrate the breweries that use our hops to make all of the beers, or a vast majority of the beers that they produce. So it's our hope on that day to have approximately 300 people. It would be a private ticketed event that would be 21 plus, that would be held on our farm, adjacent to the brewery property, but in between our two hop yards after harvest is complete.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any
Sounds like
questions.
fun, a harvest party.
Exactly.
Have you done anything like this before?
I have not, but I've worked with a lot of breweries that have. And in fact, the farm will be purchasing all of the beer from the breweries that will be represented. And members of those breweries have volunteered their time to serve the beer for us.
Okay.
So I've had a lot of communications with them and the Mass Brewers Guild, along with Chris Sellers, who is the head brewer at our brewery. He's done a lot of these events.
See, it's been passed through many departments, or had the chance to be seen by a few departments. All alcohol is being purchased from entities allowed to self-distribute. So, typical insurance paperwork in order, Sandy? This is, okay. Very good. Okay, anything else from anybody?
Everything looked in order to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hear a motion if anybody would like to.
We need two motions, one for the.
You're just doing the first one first.
Mhm.
Oh, yes, probably. Do you need two separate motions, Sandra, for the licenses?
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
one for the special permit and one for the liquor.
Okay, so we'll start with the 4 Star Farms first for the one-day liquor license.
Make a motion to grant a one-day liquor license to 4 Star Farms on 10/7/23.
Second.
Oh, it's a tie. We'll give it to Heath. Bernie surrendered it. Discussion on that. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous passing. The one-day liquor license has been granted. Now on to B2C2 Cycling.
No.
Nope,
You need
we still have to do
a
the
special events
permit.
Oh,
That's why you're doing,
That's a whole separate.
that's why you're doing two.
oh.
That's why you're doing two.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I see how it's written. Okay.
I'll make a motion to allow to give 4 Star Farms a special event permit for 10/7/23 for their Hoptoberfest.
Second.
Second from Heath. Any discussion on that?
You need some things.
Just a bunch of signatures that I'm going to have to sign. Yes, that'll be contingent on the TIPS certification, and there will be a permit fee.
I'll have both of those ready for you.
Okay, so we'll have it into the motion.
Yeah. With the motion, with the TIPS certification coming.
Yep. And then the permit fee will follow when the motion's
To be
approved,
paid, yep.
assuming
Yeah.
that it's approved. So, okay, so we'll get that in there, okay? Any further discussion? We good? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Fabulous. Okay, so that takes care of the special events and the liquor license. We will get that signed later. So I think we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
guys
much.
can join us.
All right. Now we will move to B2, C2, cycling. So much paperwork. Gentlemen, welcome. So I see here that you seek a special event for the B2, C2 cycling. Do tell.
So we are looking to host a cyclocross race at the Northfield Mountain Recreation Center on September 23rd. We've been working closely with Brett and Dwight over at the center, as well as Beth. If you're not familiar with cyclocross, it's typically it's a discipline of racing that takes place on a closed course, about 1.5 to 1 3/4 miles. For this specific instance, it would take place primarily or nearly exclusively on the front lawn and some of the open grassy areas behind the visitor center on the property. Typically, there's on mixed terrain, so there could be grass, there could be gravel. In the event of wet weather, there's often mud. So it's a very spectator-friendly kind of festival air to a bike race.
Nice. I'm assuming both of you gentlemen are riders yourself?
Yep. Our club has been running bike races in New England for about 15 years.
Yep.
We have, for 7 years, we ran the Greenfield Criterium, a 4-corner criterium, which is a road racing discipline in downtown Greenfield. We currently run the Treehouse Cyclocross race at their facility down in Deerfield as well. And
some other stuff.
We run a few others. So this will be part of the 5-race series that's happening all along the Pioneer Valley.
I see the tan on your arms there. Yeah. All that good time on the road.
Yeah.
That'll do it. All right. Looks like everything's in order here. The homework has been done for the most part, but there are a few things that we'll need when we insert these into the motion. Board of Health food vendor permits, and I can't read that writing.
A better trail map from the fire chief and any permits if you're going to use propane.
Okay.
It won't be propane.
Yeah, we won't have any propane.
Then, he was just in case you were.
Yeah, we have a food truck, La Vera Cruzana Mexican restaurant in Northampton will be vending, and the brewery at North Star Farm, or 4-Star Farms will also be vending, as well as a coffee roaster from Beverly, Massachusetts, Atomic Coffee Roasters. And
Okay.
the individuals the business owners for each of those plan to file the permits themselves.
So the better trail map is not needed then, since they're not doing-
He wanted it. I think you spoke to
a
her.
trail map.
So he could.
If you look at his notes, it stated that he needs
In his
one
notes.
for access points.
Like if he had to access
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We can update the map too.
Yeah.
We can just remove the Google Maps layer and replace it with an equivalent scale of their illustrated trail map. That would be helpful.
Okay, yeah, that would
so
be great.
I think so he can see where he would get in. I think the Google
Yeah.
Map coloration makes it confusing to see access.
Do we have contact info for him?
I
can talk to Sandra
Yeah, I think
Brown.
Dwight gave me the contact
It's on the
info.
application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So as long as those variables are satisfied, this should be all set. Pretty simple stuff. And
I see you have a 501c.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, because it wasn't on the original homework that I had,
Gotcha.
but I see it now. I was just going to question that because you asked for a waiver of the fee.
Oh, for the ST2 certificate.
Yeah.
We filed for that. We've been a 501c3 for a number of years, but we haven't. We just filed for the state of Massachusetts to receive one, so it's still in processing. I don't have it currently. I expect to have an answer from them in the next week or so.
okay. So at this time, we are not asking to waive the fee. Is that what we're proposing?
Or maybe we can say pending.
Pending? What do you think? I don't have a lot of experience with that.
That's up to you guys.
Stuff, but,
It's up to you.
But there's-
typically we
the
have.
ST2
I mean, they
is
already-
a tax
Unless we
exempt.
get that thing.
Typically, we have done that for the 501.
Well, the ST2 is tax exempt, so it's a different.
We'll just forgive the fee if we're cool with that. No fee.
Yeah, they have a number for the 501.
Yeah, the 501c3 and the ST2.
They have a number,
ST2
so
Okay.
are different
if they
things.
get the certificate, just forward it or
course.
give it to somebody. Yeah.
We're losing the permit fee. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just worry about in good faith, just getting the better trail map and
Yep.
contingent on the food vendor permits. So
Mhm.
we're all on the same page.
Great.
I have a question about
Yes.
porta potties.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure whether the map was accurate with the, or whether it was just a caricature. It looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 porta potties.
We will have 4 portable units from Bosley Sanitary, and then we'll have access to the 2 flush bathrooms inside the visitor center.
Okay. Are those in the sewer?
I do not know.
Do we know
They
whether
have their
they're-
own
No.
septic.
They have their own septic.
Sewer
Okay.
doesn't go down that far.
Doesn't
Okay.
go down, yeah.
And do you know the proportion? I mean, you've done this before, so you know the proportion of toilets to people that you have to have.
We're running it right, yeah.
Okay.
4 plus 3 flushing per gender and size, definitely a lot.
Great.
What is the anticipated population of this event?
What's that?
I think
250-ish?
I think
I think it's
the
325.
the total, including like
Oh,
volunteers and like race day staff, I think the upper limit would be about 325 is what we put on the permit application. We're expecting in the order of 250 registered attendees, and then typically people bring spouses, children, so maybe an additional 50 on top of that,
Okay.
and 20 to 25 race day staff, including vendors and EMS.
Outstanding. Okay. All right. That takes care of all the business. If there is a motion that can be entertained.
I'll make a motion to grant a special events permit for B2, C2 Cycling for their cyclocross race on 9/23/23.
Contingent on the Board of Health food.
Yeah, contingent on the Board of Health for the food vendors.
That's good. Okay.
Second.
A second from Heath with the motion from Bernie. Any last discussionable stuff? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great.
Thank you.
So we know what we have to do and we're all on the same page.
Sounds great.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay. As we are right on time for our 6:30 p.m. appointment, the PVRS and NES principals, please come forward. Pull up some other chairs if need be.
We brought their resumes for you.
Oh, wrong side. Sorry.
And we've sent links to Andrea, so if you need to add links to the packet, we've got electronic copies.
And that one for B.
Yeah.
So, on how it's written down here, we'll start off with the PVRS principal.
Yes. Hello.
Matthew Sullivan, hello.
How are you?
Welcome to the town of Northfield. We are the Selectboard. Hi.
It's wonderful to make your acquaintance.
Oh, likewise. So, I see, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your experience and why you feel the Pioneer Valley Regional School District is the fit for you.
Sure, great. So again, thank you for having me tonight. My name is Matthew Sullivan, and I've been involved in education in some way, shape, or form for approximately 20 years. I began my career kind of on an orthodox path. I began with the Hampden County Sheriff's Department, and I taught GED classes to incarcerated inmates in Ludlow.
Nice.
It was quite an introduction to education. It was certainly a different path. Really valuable experience. Really enjoyed what I did, but I definitely got the call to work for a traditional school district. So from there, I went to West Springfield Middle School, where I served as a history teacher for around 12 years. During which time, I became interested in school administration. I took a slight detour to gain some different experience from a lot of other people looking for the same positions that I was, by working at Pearson as a test developer for a year, and then I began work in Springfield at the High School of Science and Technology. That coincided, my hire date from there was around March of 2020. If you remember, March of 2020, there's some other world events occurred during that time which kind of stole my thunder, ripped me from the headlines. and definitely gave that an unorthodox experience. So I worked there for a couple of years, and then I began my administrative career in 2021 in the town of Munson, where I was vice principal and principal. And I'm fortunate to call myself a principal of the Pioneer Valley Regional School. I am nothing short of enamored with what I've seen so far from our school and from our district. This is an incredible opportunity. You can ask the question, like, what makes me think Northfield is a good fit for me? I love that it's a 7 through 12 school. It gives us 6 years to work with students. And one of the experiences I can, harken back to from my earliest days working in the jail was that 7th and 8th grade, and also my middle school experience, are such vital years. Those are our years where students are still really forming their impressions of the world and their impressions of school. It's really, really vital to make sure those are solid, good foundational years for what happens next. And to have an opportunity to have students in 7th and 8th grade not have to change schools, so already be incorporated into the school culture is a great opportunity, and I really like that. I have seen strong support from the local communities. Our school matters to people, and that matters a lot to me. This is not a place that's an afterthought in most people's minds. This is one of the centerpieces of the community, and I truly value that. I think education needs to be central, and a school can be a galvanizing thing for a community, whether it's our teams or our activities or just the students themselves. I'm really excited to work with both, the students inside my school, but with the larger community outside of the walls as well. I am certain of a couple things in this life, and one of the things I'm certain of is that a school is only as strong as the community outside the front door. And my experience here, although it's been limited, has been enormously positive, and I'm extremely excited to continue the work that we started. And I'm really excited to see the students coming back, for practices and bringing the place back to life. As anyone that's been in a school in the summer knows, it's kind of a strange place. It's a little awkward, There's supposed to be people there, and there's not. You echo a lot when you walk. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the students return, and I think we're going to have an outstanding school year.
How would you describe your administrative style?
I believe strongly that good administrators are collaborative. People need to be brought to the table. We're dealing with a wide variety of stakeholders, whether they're parents, families, and caregivers, whether they're faculty, whether they're staff, people that have real strong vested interest in what happens in the school. And I think it's really important for an administrator to be collaborative, and it's essential if you're going to be successful. Another thing that I truly value is communication. I think it needs to be consistent, and I need to be accessible, and I really am going to prioritize strong communication with both inside and outside of the school. And the third thing I think that is a real vital piece of a successful administrator is, like, you have to really throw yourself in with both feet. You jump in the deep end of the pool. This is not something that you can sort of halfway do. And I'm excited to bring these, this sort of leadership style to this building. And also, I think that we're going to be providing a lot of stability and a path forward after a couple of years where it seemed that was lacking. So I think those are what I identify as the hallmarks of my administrative style.
Okay. Now, money and policy can typically be a little bit of a tight leash for some districts. How do you hope to get around those types of variables to create an atmosphere that the students are going to want to be in?
This is just a reality that schools have lived under for ever since I've been involved in education. There's always, more to do than money to pay for it.
Yep.
So, we have to be careful with what we spend things on. We have to be, careful stewards of the town's purse strings. We also have to, prioritize what we need. Recognize that we're not going to be able to make a wish list and pass it off to Santa and have everything show up under the tree. We're going to have to really, prioritize what we need. Versus, like, it'd be nice to have this versus, like, it's essential to have this. It'd be great to resurface a running track, for example. It's essential that we have, like, lights on in science books. So I think it's a question of priorities and prioritizing. And again, just being careful. Viewing the money that we spend is not my money to spend, but as the town's, and as every penny that we spend has to be sent for a purpose of something that's going to improve student outcomes.
Okay. Anything else?
I would like to hear about the effective cell phone policy that you put into place. I'm not sure what the culture is, but I see that as something that you instituted and working in a school system. I'd like to hear about what you did there, and I don't know how it would apply in Pioneer, but I'd be interested to hear about it.
Right, great. It's a great question. And as we know, cell phones are a fact of modern life. And if anyone has seen, not just a teenager, but literally anybody at this point, it's like a third appendage. I mean, they're attached to us.
It's the cigarette of the 21st century.
It maybe a little bit more dangerous. But in my previous school, recognizing that there was some very well-seated concerns. The first thing I had to do was observe things myself, but also listen to people in the community and listen to people at the school and see what the actual situation was. And then building consensus about what we needed to do. Any rule you can put in, no matter how clever it is not going to work unless people buy into it. Initially started out with a plan to introduce a really strict cell phone policy. Have the phone sequestered and out of sight, out of mind. That had some support. It also met a lot of resistance, especially from not just students, but also from a lot of parents. Parents like to be able to access their kids at all times now. Different world, different style of parenting. So what I realized we needed to do was just do something that was going to be simple and across the board. So we just made it the simplest rule possible. The phone is off and away. What does off and away mean? It means if the teacher sees it, it's not off and it's not away. I mean, if it's hanging out of your pocket, if you're down here like this, whatever it happens to be, the phone needs to be off and away. And this is for a bunch of reasons. There's concerns about obviously distractions in class, and I think that's the first and foremost one that people have. My kids looking at a phone or playing a game, they're not paying attention to the teacher, and it's going to suffer academically. One thing I have learned as well, though, is as a 45-year-old man, I have no idea what kids use phones for anymore. If it's an app that I've heard of, it means it's already lame and outdated, and we're always going to be 10 steps behind. But one of the things that was happening a lot of is there's increasingly numbers of students that are taking pictures and filming each other and surveilling each other, basically. This is really contributing to across the board to a lot of cyberbullying and just a hostile atmosphere. So I framed this not just as a distraction issue, but also as a safety issue, and came up with a simple rule: they're going to be off and away, and then a simple set of simple direct set of consequences. If the teachers give a verbal warning, after that it's going to be sent to the office, and it wasn't like a negotiation. It was going to be this happened, X happened, your consequence is Y. And people by and large bought into this, and I was expecting there to be a lot more resistance, but the reality is that if you look at any sort of tiered intervention chart that educators love to throw out there, 95% of students don't want to get in trouble. 95% of people don't want to get in trouble. So when you're called on something once, a lot of times people, their inclination is if they realize it's a rule, people are going to hold it up, they'll follow it. So it was successful. Now, in our school, it'd be premature for me to say what our cell phone policy should be. I haven't observed enough and I haven't listened enough. I do know that we have obtained a grant to look into some things and probably offer some solutions if whatever the solutions need to be. But it's definitely something that's on my radar and something that I feel is important to address. I also more broadly feel like the tide is turning a little bit on phones. I went to a concert this summer in Springfield, and my phone got put into a silver pouch bag, which you couldn't have access to it for the entire time. And there was a lot of grumbling, but honestly, the experience of the show was great. It was like going back 20 years before people just spent their entire time staring at a screen. And one of the things that you need to have in schools a lot is the idea of not just being there in attendance, but being present. And not having a phone on you certainly contributes to that, a better atmosphere. So it's something we'll definitely take a good look at and if need be, we'll make some changes.
Well, if I say so myself, being an administrator in the public sector today, regardless of what street level position you have in the public sector, it's not as easy as it used to be. It's only getting harder. It's getting more complicated. There are laws that contradict other laws. Voluntary compliance amongst students is at an all-time level of saying no, kind of like what my parents as 60s hippies did, saying no to authority. And the complexities of that mentality are just getting much higher. And I don't really know what the answer is anymore, because I see it all the time, whether it's online or through my other profession. And I wish you luck in doing the best you can to enforce something like that, but it's not getting any easier with the way our students are rebelling now and wanting to grow up faster and to not take no for an answer. So good luck with that.
We also have, in addition, I have a secondary plan to address cell phones, and that is, our school's blessed with an incredible piece of property. The land, the space that we have is second to none. And I really want to encourage teachers to bring students outside more often, to incorporate the outdoors more into what we're doing. And this will be a very effective cell phone policy, as anyone that's tried to get cell reception, in the woods of Northfield realizes that you're not going to get it. So one way to combat cell phone use is we're going to take the kids deep into the woods and we'll have class out there. So secondary plan, if all else fails.
I'm wondering, Select Board, first, I just wanted to add to what Matt said. So Friday, we received notification that we received a $15,000 grant from the state to pilot a solution to cell phone use with kids in the schools. So you'll hear more about that. I don't know what solutions we'll come up with, but our new Director of Teaching and Learning knows how to write grants. Put out her first grant, she got it. And I wonder if you want to share with them the idea of homecoming on the 29th, the night before the parade.
Oh yes. Well, last thing, this is something I think is going to be really, really great. A lot of traditions got truncated during COVID, and I'm a big believer in bringing back things that happened in the past, but also incorporating new things. And one of the things that I also want to see more and more of is synergy between the school and the community. So I know Northfield has the big 350th celebration on September 30th. We want to play a part in that, so we're looking to have our homecoming on the 29th, the Friday before this. I've invited different alumni classes that are having the reunion to come to the school that day. We're planning on having a girls' varsity soccer game that will start at 6 o'clock. Having an old school, old style tailgate. We'll bring out the grill. We'll make food for everybody. We're trying to get some of the older students high school students to assist with things like games for the elementary school kids, face painting, that kind of stuff. And hopefully, permitting. I've watched a lot of permitting here today. As long as we can get the permitting issue squared away, I'm hoping to end it with like a nice bonfire, a real traditional homecoming event. And just really a celebration of all things Pioneer on a weekend. It's going to be a celebration of all things Northfield. And I think that would be a really cool thing for everybody. The students, a lot of students have, older siblings that have experienced these sort of things, and they have watched these sort of events kind of trickle away and fade away due to COVID and other circumstances. So I'd be delighted to bring this back, and I think it would be just an awesome event, and something that we're putting some effort and time into planning. Okay. You're all invited. Making all workers.
That's great. Well, Matt, I really like your energy. I really like what you had to say. Very important that we address the issues that are going on in our society today, and you called out some of them right here in front of us, so I like hearing that. So that's great. If we're all set, we'll move on to our next individual, Kristen Schreiber. Hi there.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Fabulous. So, please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you feel that the Pioneer Valley Regional School District is the right fit for you.
So I started teaching in Amherst in 2001. I taught in Amherst for 11 years, teaching first grade, third grade, fourth grade. and then moved to teaching at Sanderson Academy in Ashfield, which is where I live, so I could be with my kids, and really enjoyed kind of being in that small town environment. Teaching 6th grade was great, and then part of that was my husband is a wonderful supporter, and so is the principal that I worked with, and really supported me in taking classes to get my administration license during COVID. That was interesting. So I got my license and started teaching as the assistant principal over at Turner's, Great Falls Middle School and the high school. And I was not taught, but I kind of taught. You're always teaching in high school in some way or another. And I worked there for 1.5 years, and this opportunity kind of presented itself here, and it just seemed like a really incredible fit, coming from Ashfield, coming from a small town, having a farm of our own, and being able to be in a community that really speaks to my heart. I wasn't sure that it was something that I was looking for. I really wasn't looking for a different position from where I was. But a teacher reached out to me and said, "You have to send your stuff in." And the date kind of came and went, and she called me back and she said, "Why isn't your stuff in?" And so I reached out to Patricia and asked if I could bring my things in. And I fell in love when I came for my interview, the second interview. Just walking through all of the classrooms and the students, the compassion that the kids had for each other, the passion that the students had for their community came through in every conversation that they had with me. They loved where they live. The students love being able to tell me about their pets, their school, recess, the games that they played. And I was just touched by a preschooler who was helping another student who was really shy, went over and got his communication board because she knew that that's what he needed. I don't know of like adults who would take the time to do that sometimes. So I just was like so touched, and I fell in love with the school as soon as I spent the day there. So I knew that this was a place where I needed to make the move and come back to elementary and here. So that's why I ended up.
And keeping consistent, I will ask what your administrative style is and how it will work for PBRS.
I am, you're a hard act to follow, by the way. I would say, and probably Mr. Cummings could probably speak to it better than I, but I'm a listener. I tend to make sure, I also make sure that everyone has a voice. It's something that is really important to me. When I'm in a meeting, sometimes I will stop the meeting because I notice that not everybody is having a chance to be heard. So I'm a listener, but I'm also somebody who's I like to see the big picture, but I also realize that there's many small pieces that need to be attended to. So I'm also, I attend to details to make sure that big picture is reached.
Nice. And then lastly, the other question I asked, how will you get around the constraints regarding money and policy for our district, and just being able to incorporate your methods?
So I think it's quite complicated, but I do appreciate the support that we have within the district. I'm going to have to lean a lot on other people in administration to support me in finding different fundings, knowing that there's certain constraints, and there's constraints within my building different than the high school, as it is a town building. So kind of negotiating who does what, when, what needs to be done, and the different processes. So a lot of that is going to be new to me, and trying to figure out how best to do that. So it's going to be a lot of turning to other people to get that information, and working around how we can negotiate and prioritize different needs for the building.
You mentioned Heath could speak to your teaching style. Do you guys know each other?
I worked pretty closely with Chrissy at the Gilmontague School District, and she was, I think she's kind of underselling herself as she's talking right now, but I mean, I worked with her in the past year and a half, and I have to say in the almost 5 years that I've been there, she's been probably one of the best additions to that school district, and I was absolutely heartbroken to hear that she was leaving, but probably the best departure you could have made was to go where you're going. I mean, working for the Pioneer School District for the year that I did and having my son go there, it's a phenomenal school, and I know you're going to fit in perfect, and Northfield's very lucky to have you. You've been fantastic in Turner's Falls, and glad to see that you're landing here, and excited to see what you're going to do.
I'm excited.
Couldn't agree more, Heath. We are so lucky. I'm sorry for going on to you, but so I leaned in to Matt and said, "Tell him about homecoming." So Chrissy's in my office, early on, and she said, "I'm thinking, do you think it would be okay to do an all-school hike?" And I said, "Okay, all-school hike." Well, Sam Richardson came in. Sam has been walking my dog, and Sam came in, and you know Sam, and Sam has built most of the trails, and so you want to tell them what you and Sam will be doing shortly?
Yeah, on Friday we're going to be meeting and kind of taking a ride around to look at different options, knowing that we have little lakes and we have big lakes, and that they're going to need different kinds of hikes and different lengths of hikes. But our plan is to spend a day where we can all go out on a mountain day, a hiking day. And we might have different trails, but we might all start or end together, so that we can just be outside and enjoy the area. And I think we have the resources, we should use them.
Isn't this great energy? Right? This is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know the young kids involved with the Happy Little Feet here with the senior center.
Yes.
That they have a great time. I've come to a couple of the walks, and yeah, they have a great time. So.
We were both at the senior center recently for a meeting and talking about some of our ideas of collaboration. I'm really excited. The new, I don't know what her position is, if she's the activities director, the new assistant director. I have to apologize to her that I don't remember her title, but she worked with me in my classroom for many years, Robin Jenkins, and so I'm really excited to continue collaborating with her, and we already have some really good ideas, and I've already asked her to come and speak to my staff so that we can get some more collaboration to take the ideas that are already there and continue them.
Yeah, we're looking at some programming too between our school and the senior center. One of the ideas I love is, just picture this big banner called Seniors Helping Seniors, and having some of our high school students offer help with technology, how to program your phone, how to use your iPad, that kind of stuff. And at the same time, a two-way street. The more the senior members of our community helping these young people with some guidance and advice and some mentoring. I think it'd be a great relationship. Again, something that's going to help build community and keep this a great place.
So I have consistently been the youngest member on this boards during my entire time as a select board member. So I'm able to, not that anybody else couldn't do this, but think back to when I was in high school, which was only about, it's getting longer now. But I always valued in my principal the approachability. If a student can go up to you without worrying about something, without that fear. My principal in high school was Dr. Vito Perrone, amazing man. And by the end of my senior year, "Hey Vito, what up?" I had that relationship with him, and I was able to approach him with anything that I had going on. And as we all know, students, it's a very developing phase for them in any age, any grade. And to be able to go to an adult figure like that and be on that level of comfortability with them means a lot. It meant a lot to me. So I'm just putting that out there. And I think both of you know that, and know the power that your positions have. So and the influence that you can have on students with that. So yeah. Well, if Oh, do you want to say something else?
No, I just agreed.
Oh, yeah.
I'd just like to add,
I know you're a good guy.
I'm very excited that we have found these two wonderful principals, and yeah,
And you know, it's important to mention that Matt has a new dean of students also.
Yes. His name is Scott Frenier. He is in his first year as an administrator, but he's been a teacher for, he's young, he's only about 32, but he's been a teacher for around 10 years. Teacher, he's been a coach in many sports, brings a good amount of experience for a young man, and also a great amount of energy and, you know, a great demeanor. You know, we talk about being approachable and real, and this is going to be a nice addition to our school, and I think really help establish, you know, a real solid foundation for what we're hoping to do. One of the things I think, to your point, that's really important in schools is we can't forget, you know, about joy. You know, we talk about test scores and academic rigor and all these things, and they're obviously important. But we can't forget that we're dealing with people, and people have emotions and needs. In school, it's a place that's filled with kids. It's supposed to be fun, you know, and a happy place. And I want to never lose sight of that, and never let our school lose sight of that either.
Right on, man.
So did I miss something? Did Kathy retire?
Kathy has left, yeah. Yep, so thank you, Kathy Hawkins Harrison. Where is the camera?
Somewhere.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Yes. So there is a new dean of students. That means we have a new administrative team in the office.
Wow.
We're grateful to Kathy, and we're very excited to see what this new team does.
Very exciting.
Yeah, Kathy's been enormously helpful in the transition.
Yeah. Well, fabulous time we've had the past half hour. Didn't even feel like that. That's how interesting this has been. I look forward to updates during the school year on your progress as the head administrators of your schools.
I can't wait to hear about the cell phone thing.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out.
Well,
looking forward to the event too. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be good for the town.
Right? Isn't there going to... Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Tailgate.
I think it's probably been about, it'll be about 5 years, I think, since they've actually had like a homecoming or a Thanksgiving type thing where they had a bonfire. So I think
moved the time of the girls' game up to 6 o'clock so that, you know, there would be time for people to get there, get set up. We have a new big pellet-powered grill at school. Yeah.
I'm excited to use that.
Steaks, that's right. Steaks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's great meeting you all.
Patricia,
Best
Rena,
of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you both.
All right. Okay. Look at that. We're right on time for the 7 o'clock with Mallory Sullivan, Grant Development Director update. Hi, Mallory.
hello, good evening.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Okay. So we've got a couple updates. I will start with the town hall newsletter proposal. So Andre and I have kind of been talking about how to get some more information out to residents about everything that's happening at Town Hall, and outside Town Hall. There's a lot going on. So we're proposing a kind of a collaborative informational newsletter for residents so that they can get some more insights into what all the staff are working on. So I'm also aware and had just seen a copy of the former Northfield Community Newsletter, and so this isn't necessarily meant to replace that. But I've heard some, people talking about how that used to be a great source of news, and so this will definitely have some common themes, but it'll mostly focus on staff projects and such. So some of the contents that we're proposing you might expect are just various updates from some of the different departments, notices for upcoming meetings and events, community events, so some of them might be kind of crowdsourced from residents, and reminders for upcoming elections, tax bill due dates, other deadlines of interest, we could include video links to your meetings, and I think overall this will probably evolve over time as we figure out what people want to hear, and what information is useful or maybe not so useful. So we will start. The plan for the beginning of this would be to send it out every other month, so 2-month newsletters that are sent by email, and we'll aggregate content from different town departments and others, compile it into a newsletter, and then with Andrea and Sandra's help using the town email system, send it out that way. And then, again, we'll reevaluate this as we figure out what people would like to, how they'd like to receive the news. So we might consider doing a paper version at some point, but for starting out, we have access to a townwide or to an email system that can reach anyone who registers to receive it. So we would start out by sending an email to anyone who is receiving any town newsletters or like town meeting updates already. Let them know that this is coming. They can then go and register for it. We'll also do some paper outreach, so we'll have a few copies posted in town hall, down in the senior center, library, and then also notices just saying, hey, sign up for this if you would like to receive it. So that's the proposal.
You know that we have the, on the town website, you can go to a page that says, check here for, and you can check for committees, you can check for certain different options. So we thought we would put the newsletter on there at first to start with, so people could choose to receive it, and then that would generate that when we post it to the website, it would automatically then be sent. I mean, Sandra already handles, sometimes we have people who, I think I'm not getting this, but generally it turns out it's just a quick fix. They didn't realize they didn't do it right or whatever. But so we would start with that, and like she said, have some paper copies available, but that way we'd get our feet wet, we'd get used to generating it, we'd get a sense of people who are interested, and also I think a plus to that is to get people to use the website. Go on there, sign off for this. Maybe you'll notice that you can check off and receive agendas for these committees or minutes for these committees. So it would hopefully increase some traffic on that page to get people to actually sign up for those things as well.
So you're going to be the one behind, like, doing the most of the effort on it and the work on it?
Right, so I'll connect with all the department staff on probably midway through the second month so that it's ready to go for the next 2 months. Not everyone will likely contribute every time if they don't have any important update. We want more quality, I guess, than quantity of items in it. But I will be aggregating that information from the staff and from committees and compiling it.
Do you think it's going to get, your job is pretty specific about grant coordination and producing grants. Do you think it's going to get in the way of doing that work?
I don't think so. In previous jobs, I've done various newsletters, and because this one will be less me writing articles, more so than just aggregating information, I don't see it getting in the way.
I think in her job description, we also have some components to economic development, and it's not just grants, because we wanted somebody who would have some buy-in to the community and not just sitting in a room writing grants, but also being involved with the community and development and outreach. And so I don't think this would be outside of that wheelhouse.
It's kind of what we envisioned being a part of when we created the position. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And we originally were going to do straight economic development, and then we kind of blurred it into doing a little bit. So it would be a more interesting job other than just you're out there looking for grants all day, every day. And so I think
grants is the heavy part of it because it brings so much to the town. Like we needed it to be grant heavy, but
and I think that a lot of that comes in. They play together. When she's doing a lot of outreach and when she's involved in a lot of things, she sees those grants. She gets involved in those grants, and you hear about those grants. And this is also a way to tell people about participation. When we have grants that have public meeting portions, we want to get out that, hey, come and hear about this, come and participate in this, come and make your voice heard. But it doesn't make sense to do just grants. Departments may be doing other things where they want public buy-in, so it just made sense to expand the newsletter to include those kinds of things. And then if a member of the public says, hey, I'm going to do this like they're going to do the bonfire. You know, that would be a great thing to put in there, even though it isn't just from this town hall. It's a community town event.
It's also good that we're going to have it on paper, because we did hear people at one of our last town meetings say, I don't buy the paper, I don't go on the internet, mail me stuff. So, I mean, short of mailing people every single thing we do, it'll be great to have that
And
alternative.
we haven't put out of mind that this could be something that ultimately does get mailed, but we have to build to that conclusion and figure out the cost and fund the cost of 6 mailings a year and, you know, what and all that. But we figured if we get it out, we get the kinks worked out, get it online, and then have some paper versions, and then build from there. Let's start small and expand rather than try to do too much, bite off too much at first.
Okay.
Well, that was a good update. We discovered a lot more about the town newsletter. We covered the vacant storefront program.
No,
correct?
she's going to do the next two. She has to do them.
Oh, well, let's keep on going. Yeah.
Okay. So this, I think there are actually 2 items, but they're kind of morphed into one,
Yeah.
really. So the vacant storefront program is a program run through the Mass Office of Business Development. And I recently had a call with the Western Mass Director, which is a position that has been unfilled for, I think, the last 4 years or so. So I think it's great that we have a state staff person located in Western Mass who can help us with navigating their office's programs. And so this vacant storefronts program would enable the town to designate a vacant storefront district. And there are some criteria that the program has that specify kind of what that looks like. And this, if approved, the town would then also have to designate some matching funds, but it would enable businesses that open in those vacant storefronts to access tax incentives from the state. So that's kind of the longer range component. But what this really is about is helping to connect prospective business owners or people who want to open up shop in Northfield with people who have available properties, so with the property owners. And I was thinking about other potential solutions to this, and one is to have a commercial storefront directory, as I'm calling it, that's hosted on the town's website, or that is hosted in paper form at Town Hall. And this would, how we would populate this directory would be, one option is to send letters to either everybody in town, or my suggestion is to send letters, and actually I believe you a draft copy of one, to owners of property where there were businesses located sometime in the last 10 years. So some of these are located in the village center district here, and others are outside those bounds. But essentially, if folks have available property, they're not interested in using it for their own purposes, or they're ready to sell or lease, just letting them know that we can take down some essential information about the property, put it in our directory, and then make that directory available to anyone who's interested in finding property in town. This is completely voluntary. It would be completely free, and all zoning, permitting, licensing requirements that would typically apply would definitely apply. And so where the kind of connection is between these two is that in order to designate a vacant storefront district, we have to figure out what are those vacant storefronts or those vacant properties. And this would be one way of supporting us in doing that, and understanding if there are these vacant properties that are suitable to business use, even if they're on a residential property. We don't necessarily know if they're vacant or not without someone telling us.
Right. I don't really have anything. Sarah?
Yeah. So the business property outreach, owner outreach. So this is something that we've been discussing in the Economic Development Committee, and you're a part of that committee, and we've been building a contact list and all that, but you never, you didn't bring that to the committee or talk to the committee about it. And so I find this moment frustrating. So I just want to put that on the table. The policy of the select board, the select board determines policy, and we made an economic development committee of which you are a part. And that's where it's supposed to go through, and we're supposed to work on things. So we advise, just like the ARPA committee. The ARPA committee is an advisory committee that goes through and makes decisions and then presents it to the select board. And so this is something we're already actively working on.
Can I just make a
Go
statement
ahead.
here?
Oh,
Okay.
are you, Sarah, you all set?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Andrea?
This is her job. And we did form a committee, and I think as an advisory committee, and to work with the community and to do certain pieces. But that doesn't take away from the projects, I think, that Mallory is entrusted with as part of her job. This advisory committee doesn't control all economic development activity in
And
the
I didn't
town.
say that it
Hold on.
did.
No. I'm just saying, I just want to make it clear that she's been working on this process towards this grant, and this is part of that process. And so this is, although you guys have things you're discussing, and I'm sure Mallory's incorporating that, and if it's appropriate, we'll bring it to the committee. But other parts are things that she's going to work on as part of her job, that we work on together, that we meet weekly to talk about things that she's seen, when due dates are. Some are economic development, some are just assisting other, the green communities with their grant. I mean, she's working all across the field. And this has been a priority. She's the one who brought the idea of the committee to the table as part of this. But I don't want it to be that the committee, which meets every couple weeks and has, I don't know that you guys have formulated your goals. That hasn't really come back to this board, but I don't want that to be in place of the work that Mallory's doing.
It's not. We're doing the very same thing, and it's frustrating. Yeah, we're building that at the last meeting. We have a list of all the people that have had a business in the last, a huge amount of people to contact and whatever. I'm just frustrated because I feel like you're bypassing, and I think that's wrong to do.
That's really not my intent at all. I see this as a separate but related project where this is a little bit, it's at once more targeted, where the proposal is to reach out to owners of property where we know there were businesses located at some point in the last 10 years that are not currently occupied, but it's also open to the public, anybody who owns property and has a desire to add their property here. So I do see it as separate, and it is related to a potential grant that we could apply for. I'm happy to share this with the committee as well. But this is, I see it as a little bit different from some of the projects that we're working on there.
Heath?
Her position reports directly to you, correct?
Yes.
Not the committee?
No.
Okay. Secondly, where are the minutes to this committee posted? Are there minutes that are available and out? Because I'm completely out of touch of it, but now I kind of want to know more about it to see what its function is, because obviously there's quite the stake in Mallory's responsibility. So what is this committee actually doing, and where is its minutes in progress?
Well, we have minutes in progress. We had an issue with the person who was doing the minutes and approvals, so we're working on that. But there will be minutes as of the next meeting, and the things that we've been doing are that we made one of our members made a spreadsheet of all the people that have been in business for the last however many that we need to contact. We're working on conservation lands and recreational. There's a whole list of things, and you can definitely look at the minutes. It's just we had a little issue with record keeping, so it's all in process. But my question was only that this is the project that we're working on, and it was frustrating that it bypassed and seems to, have taken advantage of the work that we've done and bypassed it. That was my expression of frustration.
Well, I just want to point out that she's working on a deadline for a grant, so it's important that she's going to get something out. I don't know what the timeline is. I don't know what discussions have happened at your committee, but I don't see it as a conflicting thing. I see what she's doing as part of
Right,
the
we
whole
should be
process,
working together. Right.
Which
Yeah,
I believe
agree.
you have been, but now she needs to release this letter if she's going to get the feedback in a reasonable amount of time to actually work on this grant. And I don't know where it sits in your committee. Is it imminent and ready to mail some kind of letter?
We were dealing with a spreadsheet last week about how we were going to contact people, and she was at that meeting and didn't mention any of this. That was my frustration.
Well, we were talking about the grant, so I'll let you speak about how you came to me weeks ago about this letter. I think before your committee even actually started meeting.
Yeah, and I guess I don't see these in conflict because we are trying to aggregate a list of existing businesses that are open right now. And so this is a different project because it aims to bring new businesses to town, or people who have businesses maybe that are operating out of their home and they need a larger space. So they're definitely related, but I see them as at two different stages, and that directory that Robin is putting together, I think, is going to be instrumental as we move forward. But at this point, I see these as different projects.
Okay.
Have we covered everything at this point?
Is the continuation of Mallory on this committee in the best interest? Because I just don't feel like having any committee inhibit deadlines that you've set on her being fruitful for the money that we're spending on her position and the progress that she's making on it, because it just seems like it's
seems like a burden.
It kind of does.
It seems like a burden for Mallory. I don't want
Well,
her
I
to
mean,
burden.
I think Mallory remaining a liaison to this committee is important. I think that obviously the work that she's doing, as we can see, is, you know, they work together, they overlap, it's integral, and all that kind of thing. And it was important to Mallory to be part of this meeting. She actually brought this committee to the select board. I'm a little concerned come fall. I mean, because we're waiting on a fair number of grants. And if we get those grants, Mallory's job will shift a little bit from applying just to grants to managing grants and managing reporting. So I'm keeping a close eye on how much work. Now we're going to do this newsletter. And also we will be applying for some pretty hefty grants. We're reapplying for a federal grant for the Shell Bridge. That alone, I can't tell you how much work that was for Mallory. The last time we were reusing information, but working with Mass DOT. So I am concerned that Mallory is going to a lot of meetings, and she's going to be outreaching to a lot of departments to get information and to keep this all together. So I've thought about it, and her going to every meeting might not be in Mallory's best interest as we move into the fall. So I know they're working on some projects. I don't want to just say, oh, that's it, Mallory's done, she's not coming anymore. But I think there's a point in time where it might be that Mallory is the liaison. She isn't a voting member of the committee, so she can't really affect their policy and vote on what they move forward with and not move forward with, but she is an important voice and she is a liaison to that committee. But I think it may make more sense come the next couple of months when these grants come in to move her into an advisory position where she comes to give updates, or they request her to come to give her an update, as opposed to her being a member that comes every 2 weeks, because the committee meets every 2 weeks. And based on her schedule and the amount of work that she's facing, I think that you're right. It might become
a burden.
Well, I don't know that it's a burden. I think it just may become a lot of work that if there's a group of people working on things, Mallory doesn't necessarily have to be there all the time. So, we're discussing that. We're talking about it. But again, we haven't gotten to fall. We're just starting to hear back on a few of the grants, like we've heard back on our Complete Streets. And, we're looking at her schedule, and we're going to keep that in mind. And like I said, there may come a point in time where I'm not sure that Mallory's her best interest and the town's best interest will be for her to attend every single meeting. So, but if that's the case, I will bring it back to you guys to reconsider her appointment from being a committee member in principle or in theory to maybe just being the liaison.
Seems like a good idea for the select board to decide.
We'll look at the next few weeks and we'll start hearing on some of these grants, and then, but right, you guys appointed her, so I want to make sure that you guys are part of the process moving forward, and that she definitely needs to still be a liaison to this committee. And obviously we haven't had any discussion with the committee on this, it just came up tonight, but for everybody to think about.
Well, if we're ready to move on, I'll just say, Mallory,
There's one more thing that's on my update that I'd kind of like Mallory to be here for, but since it's on the agenda, the Rural Downtown District Management Pilot Program. It's a technical assistance grant that we were approached about. Pull my paperwork out. So the Franklin Regional Council of Governments had a grant with working with 3 communities. We were not part of that. The community of Greenfield pulled out. And they called us and said, would you guys like to be a part of this project? It involves some very specific, some work, very, there's a term, they do this projects and everything, and then we get some results. And I don't know if you want to talk about, we took a meeting with them just initially, a Zoom meeting, just to see, we don't know, what is this? And I don't know if you want to talk to the project. I know you've probably talked to Jessica since then, asked questions, might have a better explanation.
Sure. So the Rural Downtown District Management Pilot Project, it's a mouthful. As Andrea mentioned, the FERCog got this grant. Greenfield backed down. They invited Northfield to participate because they knew that the town is really putting a lot of energy and resources into downtown, into economic development, and trying to figure out how to best support businesses so that maybe we'll get some more businesses coming to town and can really support the economic development efforts in town. So the pilot project is to help develop thriving downtown districts by understanding what management mechanisms may help businesses to also thrive here. So things such as, these are just examples, a chamber of commerce or a business association. Of course, we have Nataba and a lot of business owners in town. So Northfield is just part of this pilot project. We haven't started yet. There will be a kickoff meeting at some point in the next month or so. So while the work hasn't started yet, there will be task forces for each of the communities that are participating. And those will include, most likely business owners would be the key constituent, probably also some town staff and perhaps committee members, and then public meetings. So there will be several public meetings held. Those will probably be a combination of Zoom and in person. And overall, this is really a good opportunity for Northfield to avail of free technical assistance. And as it's figuring out these things, again, this is a pilot project, so we're kind of the guinea pigs in this, and they're providing this service, but we're also potentially helping develop some best practices for other towns along the way.
Do you know why Greenfield pulled out?
I don't. I haven't been in discussion with them.
17,000. Their population is a lot larger than ours. I'm wondering why. Is it just a regional reason why we were offered the?
Well, they're working with Shelburne Falls as one of them.
Oh, I see.
So that's similar in our size.
Shelburne Falls and Turners. So
So Greenfield was the outlier as far as size.
They were actually the largest, yes. So. And I think they reached out to us because they know we've got Mallory's position, we've got a committee, we've put a lot into trying to, so we're several steps ahead, I think, on economic development than some other small communities.
But we actually had a consultant come and stay in town, right? You said there was a Zoom meeting.
No, the Zoom meeting was us with the FERCog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that consultant had nothing to do with town. That they were attending meetings somewhere else. I heard we didn't meet with them. It wasn't us. Why they stayed in Northfield, I don't know. But we met with the FERCog and the consultants on a Zoom meeting. And that's the only meeting we've had with them.
Right, just introductory, sharing the idea with us, essentially.
All right.
So this whole grant is to work on help the towns work on different organizational models and an administrative capacity, which like we have Mallory, but how do we expand that, to talk about what would downtown districts look like and help present models that would fit your community to make more of a, they're not going to come in and find businesses for you. They're going to help you create, I think, the model or look at models that you might want to adopt and adapt to create administrative capacity and organizational methods in your town that would be permanently supportive of economic development. Something like Nataba is one example of that, like having a business group. But how do you create that? Shelburne has or used to have the partnership. They had a downtown partnership, and very few communities have that anymore, which was a collaboration between the towns, because that was multiple towns, and the business community. And how did they establish that? There was a staff person who was partially funded. So all of that kind of thing are models that they're looking at to how would you help these communities create those kinds of organizational pieces. I think that's, and then each town factors in their pieces, so it's personal to you.
And one of my main takeaways from our initial call was they want to support towns in figuring out something that's sustainable, a sustainable model, because whether it's a staff person or an organization or a chamber or some partnership, like it has to be something that's going to last beyond individuals.
So this is a grant. Is there a time frame on it, on the project? Has it, we just signed on to it, or has it begun? What's the time frame on it?
Well, we don't have the grant. The FERCOG has the grant.
Right.
But yes, they're just doing the original meetings now. I believe, I think it's a year. I mean, I think that we have until next year, into next year.
Yeah, since we're jumping on a little bit, we're joining in later in the process. I think they had initially wanted to kick things off in the spring, but we're delayed. So we're really we don't have a firm timeline of when we could expect those meetings to be, but that's all information we would get and communicate.
They first wanted to explain it to us, and we even see if it was something that, that meshed with something.
And it doesn't cost the town, right?
Nope, it doesn't cost anything. Their dates were April 2023 to June 2024. I think that was their grant thing, but so we are looking at next summer. Since she was here, I wanted to make sure we covered that, because if you had any questions.
Well, is that all at this time?
That's all I've got.
Well, look, I think you do your job. I think you know your job. I think you follow your job description. And I can't speak for the board. I'm lucky to have you here in Northfield. And every time you come forward, you never fail to impress me. And I look forward to the future of what you're going to be bringing to our municipality. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mallory.
Good night.
Thanks, Mallory.
Thank you, Mallory.
All right, I see you, but we have a structure here. I didn't see you on the agenda or anything. We already passed citizens' concerns. So just trying to stay consistent on how I run the meeting. So
it is up to the chair to recognize somebody if you want to.
I understand. I typically don't do that if we have a lot to get to tonight. So if,
but at the last meeting,
I will. If you would like to be brief on something, I will allow it.
Very short.
Just for a second.
I'd like to know if this FERCOG person could come to our next economic development meeting. I mean, we'd like very much to meet with this person.
Okay.
And can I just mention about citizens' concerns, because it went from citizens' concern to the meeting, the 6:15 meeting, and you really didn't. I really wanted to ask a question also.
Well, you wanted to ask a question to the board?
Citizens' concerns.
Well, I announced citizens' concerns.
And you did, but you bumped right up to the 6:15, and I didn't get a chance to do a citizen's concern.
Even when I announced it, you felt like, or you wanted to speak after?
It went from Brian, and then it went to, I can't remember, but then it was 6:15 right away.
Okay.
She wasn't here.
Gotcha. All right.
No, she was here. You just jumped to the 6:15
Yeah,
appointment, I think is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Okay. No, I get what you're saying. So if you'd like, well, I'll make an exception for that. Okay, come on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Virginia Hastings, very brief. I don't talk much. I'm curious to know, having heard Mr. Bordner's piece tonight, how many other people might have sent a letter of interest for the Emergency Services Committee building committee? Is that public information?
So we can't directly answer citizens' concerns. They can be voiced for the record, but I would advise the board not to answer any questions regarding something that is questionable on how it can be interpreted. So yeah, that's all I'll say about that. So,
okay.
But if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to call the town or something like that.
Okay.
Access it that way. So.
Thank you.
I just don't want to violate the open meeting law. So.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for reminding me about that. I did jump right to the 6:15, so
Sorry.
Thank you about that. Okay, so we just want to move on here to the vendor warrant for the 8/23/2023. Anybody want to speak on that motion or something?
I'll make a motion to approve the 8/23 of 23 vendor warrant of $108,911.49, which includes health insurance.
Second.
Motion to second. Any discussion? It's a big number. Yeah.
Why? I just have a question. Why we have health insurance kind of off on the side? Is it because the number is larger because of the health insurance?
You put anything over 10,000. That's why every meeting in the parentheses will be anything over 10,000, singly over 10,000.
Got it.
Yeah. It's an expensive thing here.
Important.
Yeah. No more discussion. If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And the interesting thing to think about health insurance is that although we pay the bill, and you'll see it this way, we actually also take 25% from the employee. So the bill you're paying doesn't represent that we actually collect a portion of that.
Right.
It's actually 75% of that amount that we're actually paying.
Yeah.
I do have a question about the vendor warrant. I know we've already voted on it. I
Sure,
just have
go
an
ahead.
informational question.
Yeah.
So the tech folks, on the last warrant, it was like $3,000. Is it $3,000 a month?
For the
I didn't find it for the tech support people. It was $3,000, and it was, so the number surprised
Oh,
me.
you're talking about our
Northeast
technology support. I'm thinking the tech school. I'm sorry.
No.
It's monthly.
And it's $3,000 a month.
That's for all the email addresses and all of for our IT contract.
Okay, and then we had a thing that was Selectboard phone, and that was $1,000, and that was surprising.
That is actually parceled between multi-departments, but it comes through the Selectboard line. But yeah, we have a separate phone system, an IT phone system.
That's $1,000 a month, or just $1,000?
I think it's around there for everybody's phone lines and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of line items under the select board budget that I was surprised to find when I first started out. It's like, wow, I don't have my own iPhone.
No, they're not cell phones.
Yeah,
they're the actual desk phones.
So there's just a lot of little things that you don't realize. But okay, if we're good, we'll move on to review and approval of the minutes for the 8/8/23 meeting.
I motion that we approve the minutes of 8/8/23.
Second.
Motion and a second on the August 8th minutes. Any discussion on said minutes? I probably spent 5 minutes looking at them.
I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything either. I talked a lot last meeting regarding the fire department bylaws. We talked a lot about it. I'm really surprised it didn't make the paper, honestly. We covered a lot about the reorganization and the implementation and the structure of how our fire department operates regarding its policies and procedures, and I was just really surprised that the recorder didn't write about it. But that has nothing to do with the minute stuff. So, if they're good, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, you motioned it. Did somebody second it?
I believe
Okay.
I did.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Interim select board meetings. I don't think we had any. Meetings and events attended by select board members. Sarah, anything?
Yes. I had to be away for a week to do family stuff, and so I went down to Nashville, and I brought you guys back some Goo clusters, which is a southern tradition.
Oh.
So please
That's the way to win them.
pass them around.
Goo cluster.
And I have some for Sandra and for Tyler as well.
Ooh.
Is that enough?
Oh yeah, no, that's enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't want it? It's got pecans in it.
That's even better.
And so I have another thing too. Sorry, guys.
No.
But this was for the select board, and this was something that I go out to the Habitat for Humanity Restore, which is basically a giant Goodwill store that sells construction and furniture and stuff like that. And right after we had the discussion about the lights, they had these awesome lights for $1.99, so they aren't a conflict of interest. So I have lights for everybody, and they're really nice and shiny, and they show up. And so we cannot have, we'll do whatever we do about the permanent lighting, but there's enough for the desk. So we don't have to pull them out now because we'll have to figure out cords for it. But as you can see, it works really well, and I can
Nice and
totally
lit.
see.
Yeah.
We did
So-
have the electrician in today too. So.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well,
Seems
but
to-
you know,
lighting seems to be the theme of the day.
I don't think that it's, I mean, as long as we have lights, that's what we need. And so I'm just going to donate these to the town. It's a whole $12. And I guess I withdraw my deep desire to have expensive lighting put in, and we can just pop these in or not, But anyway, so those are the two pre-meeting. And then I had, I went to the sewer commission meeting, and they had two really big accomplishments, which have been a long time coming. They did phase 1 beta testing of remote access monitoring. And that's going to save the town money because the sewer superintendent can watch the alarms and the HMI, which is the human machine interface, without having to cost hours of going in. And they have an automated budget with the help of the town assessor, treasurer, and financial assistant. So that was big news in the meeting. I reached out to the Grandin Water District because they still don't have a meeting posted, and so we haven't heard back from them yet. But I mean, I heard back saying they don't know when their meeting is going to be, but that's something we want to keep track of.
Yeah.
Went to the softball game just briefly. I had something else to do, but I dropped in and saw the beautiful tie-dye T-shirts and cheered everybody on.
Nice.
I visited the firehouse with the chief, the assistant chief, and several firefighters, and all the entire mosquitoes in Northfield were also there. And we walked through the property and looked at some possibilities and looked at what their needs were, and found some good paths to investigate, I think. We did economic development committee, and we talked about the consultant, and we talked about all of the current and future businesses that we wanted, current and past businesses that we wanted to investigate. And then ConsCom, two items of interest were the clearing the boat ramp. We had to do an emergency permission for that. And there's a giant hogsweed, which is on Millbrook. That's the new property we just bought, and its sap is phototoxic, and it can cause blindness. So if it gets the sap on, then it gives you blister burns, but it can cause blindness. And the elementary school and I think the elementary school does walks there. So we contacted the school superintendent and John Lepore, who is their outdoors person doing stuff, and made sure that they were on notice on that. But I think that something that's going to have to come up, and hopefully we'll look for grants for, is the invasives in that property. Some of them are dangerous, and so we just need to find hopefully a grant to get rid of those, shovel them out, and deal with them.
Well, you have been very busy. I can't match that.
I wasn't. I just trying to do a good job. That's what I'm trying to do.
Awesome. Heath?
I just had the emergency services committee, but we can discuss that when we get down to that part of the agenda.
Didn't you have a meeting with the beach?
I had many of them this summer. This one was finally a good one.
Nice. Bernie?
I had the Department of Public Works finalist interview where we hired Cody. I had Friends of the Northfield Seniors meeting, and I participated in the FERCOG shoe and boot spraying event.
I had I could not make the hiring committee. I had a child care issue. That happens when you become a parent. So I couldn't make it. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. But I was able to make the screening committee for the DPW highway department. We had some candidates, and the best ones moved forward. And as we know, ultimately Cody Gibbons received an offer of employment. So that's all I had. Okay, let's keep moving here. Town administrators update. We could.
We pretty much talked about the rural downtown district pilot program. Just wanted to put on your radar that the community compact that comes out every 2 years, we have several projects for right now. We'll be bringing that back to you. That's the best practices program that, just so you know, the town has had, let me see. It's a very productive program for us. The town, it's a voluntary mutual agreement that's entered into between the town and the state government, through the Community Compact Cabinet that they have, usually run by the Lieutenant Governor. And the committee agrees to implement a best practice. There's 17 of them, and then there's many, many topics under those, so there's lots and lots of best practices, and they're across all sorts of variety of areas. The town has received close to $200,000 in the past 3 years. Some of the projects we have done, the Complete Streets Policy and Prioritization Plan that you did in 2020 was $24,000. We developed a document and implemented the financial policies and procedures, including revenue levels, capital financing, all that, for $25,000 in 2020. And we did public safety visioning in 2020, if you recall that process, for 15. Right now, we're doing the budget. I'm working on a budget document for detailing revenues and expenditures. I just reached out to the Collins Center, and we're actually looking at a new model for a budget document. It'll make you very happy, Heath, because it might looks like splitting up the omnibus a little bit more and giving some more discussion in our warrants instead of notes at the bottom, changing that around. So that grant we have right now running through next summer for $25,000. And we're doing the job classification and wage reviews right now. That's another 15. Those are the best practices grants we've had. And then we've also had one regionalization one. And that is the one that emergency services, the EMS one. And we've done 3 IT grants. When we did the town hall servers in 2020, that was $30,000, and we just did one in 2022, upgrading the library technology. We've been in there, you'll know they have new computers, for about $11,000, and the regionalization one was $40,000. So it's a great program. It's for us to pick away at things that might be too expensive for us to do. So usually get you involved with looking at priorities, so that'll be coming back around, but I just wanted to announce that it came out yesterday. So we'll be looking at those projects.
Very good.
Can I ask a quick question? The Community Compact, so that is, they give a list of best practices and then they're targeted grants on those best practices?
You pick a best practice and a sub thing under it. Like the best practice list might be adult, senior services, and then under it will be 5 or 6 examples. You can write your own, but they do give you examples, and you will pick one of those. Usually what I do is I reach out to a consultant if we pick a project and say, or we estimate from another group for another how much, for example, we've used the Collins Center a couple of times, how much, to do this scope of work. And they will say, that's $15,000. And we will apply to the Community Compact for $15,000. They will give us $15,000. We will hire the consultant to do that work. That's how we did financial policies. That's how we do. It's very targeted.
So they have a list that we can kind of say, this is the direction.
We can drone in on, we can go in, drill in on the kinds of things we want that we think Northfield needs, that you guys recognize that we're lacking, like financial policies or updating a classification chart. And we can go for money to pay the professionals to do that, and the state gives it to us.
Okay.
Nice. Okay, onwards.
Yeah, I put the EMS Regionalization Efficiency Grant on here because I thought I was going to have a draft for you, and we would have, but we haven't been able to connect with Mark. I do have a very rudimentary draft, and we decided we've set up our date with Mark to meet, so I'll probably have it at your next meeting.
You can wait.
Well, this is pretty, you need something like a more final draft to actually follow it. There's still notes on this one. So it'll come back. We posted before I realized we weren't going to have that meeting, so. Town hall parking lot. Well, I think that most people can see the progress on the town hall parking lot. So we now have the stripes. They just went on this week, and I've ordered the parking signs because we will be putting in some police signs, some town hall employee parking, and some handicap signs that need to go up.
How about a select board chair parking spot?
Select board. It'll be select board, the first come, first serve.
Could I get one of those?
That's going to be in the very back, right?
That's right, back corner.
Back corner, away from everyone else's car.
Right, his car. He'll like that.
So.
And then now he's finishing up the pieces of the drainage. Now that they, we've paved. There's the last pieces. They were doing some work on the landscaping today and getting that in, and then we'll be working on some trees and some pieces that are going around the both monuments and memorials. And so we're finishing that project up, but it does look really nice. And, hopefully we'll get our signs up, and it'll look even better, and we'll have the grass growing and the trees in, and it'll be great.
And those are the trees from the 350th or somewhere else?
Well, we're working with the same committee for recommendations. So we wanted to work. They've done a lot of work in deciding what kinds of trees were appropriate, and those kinds of things. So yeah, so we reached out to them from the beginning. So
We've got a new tree company in town, a new tree producing growing company, the Yellowbud Farm. And
So maybe that-
maybe we should look at local businesses.
and they may have.
Yeah.
I'll make a note of that.
Okay. Veterans Memorial Light?
That was a request.
Yes.
We
Any
were
update on that?
Oh, we were going to have Tom talk to it. Forgot to do that. Yeah, he's on it. They knew it was going in when they were putting the paving in. We've seen the in fact, it may be in that warrant, the payment for the to the electric supply warehouse for the electrical part. So it's in progress.
Okay. I had been asked about it. I wanted to make sure we updated, that's all.
Yep, no, Tom's been in touch with them.
Okay.
So
350th Parade?
oh, okay. Obviously, September 30th from 1 to 3. We will be sending some information out, but we need to start telling people that between probably 12:30 and 3 o'clock-ish, we're hoping the parade won't be, hours and hours long, but a fun time. This road will be closed, and there'll be signs going up, big lit signs 2 weeks beforehand. And I've already gotten the addresses and the address labels. We will be mailing to certain residents up on Pine and Highland and Holton, because the parade will be lining up along that road. So they will be going to a one-lane road for a few hours, just a few hours. So we're asking them all to come please join us in the parade, and try not to drive too much that day, because it will be one lane for them for probably 11:30, 11 till the parade moves through, maybe 2:30ish. Because we have to line up along there to be off Main Street till Main Street is open. But we're going to send postcards. We're going to send postcards out to everybody, and we'll try to keep people informed. And there'll be more announcements as we go along. We have lots of participants, so we're really hoping residents and non-residents will come out to watch. And we'll, like I said, we'll keep updating. But yeah, we're really, it's going to be a good show. And now we just have to pray for no rain.
Yes, no rain.
Start now.
Yes.
Well, for the bonfire, that'll hopefully follow
The night
after,
before,
right?
right. So we need a very
before,
nice dry weekend.
That would be good.
That would be really good.
Yes. So, okay, good update. Thank you for all that. We're on to our business. I can't really control how long each agenda item takes, but I really do hope that we're able to swiftly move through each business item, but also accurately move through each business item. So first, Town Clerk Notary Services Guidelines Policy.
Yes, and I'm bringing this to you now that our new town clerk is also a notary. So we actually have two notaries, town clerk and our assistant town clerk. There have been a couple of things, and I've heard from some other towns that there have been some incidents. The notaries the public notaries done in town have some limitations on the things they will and will not notarize. And people get very frustrated when they say, oh, you have a notary, and they come in and they want to notarize something that we don't do. Like
ridiculous.
We don't do land transactions, for example. That's not what, there's levels of notary, and we don't insure for that. Those are much more, we don't do wills, that kind of notary services. So we just thought if we had a policy, we could put it on the website and we could steer people to it so they could see exactly before they come in or ask what they do and don't do.
What about IOUs? Like, taking a loan out from somebody, or a bill of sale for a car.
They don't do bank loans, but they will do, you'd have to ask them specifically. I mean, like, I'm not a notary, so I haven't had the training. What a notary does not attest to anything other than the person standing before them is the person who they claim to be. So when you get to certain documentations, the expectation of a notary is that they're attesting that to a very serious transaction like a will. That's not what we do here in Town Hall as a notary. So I propose that maybe we adopt something like other towns have done, just as a way for the public to know and put out there that we have these services, because they're free to the town. So we can tell residents these are things you can actually get for free.
And we don't have to reinvent the wheel here with this policy. It's all been done before.
It's all been done before.
So we just need to professionally plagiarize what somebody else has done. And it's all in compliance with MGL. So as long as that's the case, we should be good.
So as long as you've listed the phone number, and have people should probably call before they come in. Find out what's covered, tell them
what they will need for to be notarized. There can be requirements.
Phone call should alleviate most of the problems.
Unless there's questions, if we're okay with just putting this through, it's pretty standard. If we're cool with that.
Yeah.
So I'll take a motion on it if somebody would like to.
Make a motion to put the notary services guidelines on the town website, or we can also post it in the building.
You want to
maybe?
adopt them.
Oh, to adopt,
Yes.
I apologize.
And then, yes, we're happy to put them, we'll put
Okay,
them out.
we can post, so I make a motion to adopt the notary services guidelines as written here.
Yep, we'll
That's it.
put them all over.
Effective immediately.
Effective immediately.
Sure, okay.
Second.
Second from Bernie. Discussion? I hope not. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we'll do both those things. We'll get them up.
Sweet. Okay. Signed boat ramp clean-up contract, Department of Fish and Game, Office of Fishing and Boating Access.
Yes, and you have that contract.
That's a big deal. Yes.
This has been done before by the town, and I think you probably went over this somewhat, Sarah, at the CONSCOM meeting.
Yep.
It's a pass-through with the town. The state, in order for the state to do this, it's very complicated for them to release these kinds, but they contract with us instead of the private vendor, and then we pass through the funds to the vendor, and the boat ramp gets cleaned. Totally legal, totally done before. We have a contract with the state for payment. And then we pay the vendor up to a certain amount. The
How do
vendor,
we choose the vendor?
The vendor has already been chosen by the state, and it is somebody who's performed the services before. So this is not the first time it's been done. They know exactly what to do. And then it has to be stored, and then it has to be dried, and it has to be tested before they can determine. There's multiple avenues on where it can be disposed of based on the testing. We're not responsible for any of that. We're just the vendor to get it out and to somewhere to be stored, and then the state has to take
Can I
care of it.
clarify, the state chose the vendor?
Yes.
And we pay? Okay.
And we pay.
More than likely through a bidding process.
Right, it doesn't cost us anything.
Right.
They're going to pay
Yeah,
us.
I get it.
But we are the entity to do contracts with these state agencies are very complicated. We'd be waiting months. And so they've done this before. They're doing it with other communities around us to get these things cleaned timely.
Yeah.
Except Northfield is somehow an outlier. That boat ramp is somehow really silty and
Yes, because of the way the water comes down
Yeah.
and the way it hits the bank, and I think also because we're kind of early in the river, we get it bad.
I find it to be disgusting. Hopefully they'll clean it up.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to basically, remove the silt and make the boat ramp
Smells, too.
accessible.
It's terrible.
Get to get the dead debris out of there.
Yeah, they got to get it out.
that smell is a sign of bacterial growth.
Yes,
So.
exactly.
So-
This doesn't exactly have to do with it, but I just like it how the state has recognized the fact that we are a select board. This is 2023. And yet on this document, through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it still says it's selectmen.
No.
We're not selectmen anymore. I mean, I'm a man, but I'm a select board member, so maybe someday they'll figure that out. So other than that, yeah, I think we should move forward in signing this.
Do we need to make a motion to?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to sign the boat ramp cleanup contract with the Department of Fish and Game, Office of Fishing and Boating Access.
Second.
Yeah, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. You have the official contract, or we'll sign them at the end of the meeting, maybe?
Yeah, we can do that, I think.
Hope it's not this one.
Why did you write on it?
No,
It might be. Where'd you get it?
I don't know. It's this one.
It might have been right here.
Oh, well, it's in color, so it probably is.
It
I
probably
didn't
is.
touch it.
That's fine.
I
It'll
didn't
be
touch
fine.
it.
We scan it and send it to them, so they'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Emergency Services Facility Committee, new goals and composition. So I would just like to say it is not our intention at this meeting to accept applicants, but I think it should be our intention moving forward to revisit having applicants at a later time. I think that's kind of the point of what we're doing with this, is to just kind of discuss where we're going forward with it, and then to seek citizen interest in the future if that's the route we choose to go with it. I think I got that right. So yeah, so we need a new direction here. We need a new direction on where our facility is going to be heading, facility committee is going to be heading. And I think maybe just getting some different members on there with different perspective at this time would be a fair point to make with the committee.
So just for clarification on who's on the committee right now, you've had different iterations. It actually changed before the final bid, because it was a larger committee, and then when they got focused on that one project, it went down to sort of a working committee, and then it went down to even a subgroup of the chiefs to the final changes. But the committee is the three chiefs. You have fire, police, and EMS. It has a select board representative, and it has a representative from the planning board and the finance committee.
Yeah. So how many?
6.
Six.
So that's been the core composition. I mean, I attend, but I'm not a voting member. That's been the core composition, because when it was established, they requested that the finance committee and the planning board send a representative, because issues about money, obviously, and zoning and policy and all that for the planning board. Select board, obviously, and then the three chiefs. So that's the committee as it sits right now.
Heath?
So, first off, I'd like to get an odd number just to eliminate deadlock vote potential. And I don't think adding one person to the committee is going to get us there. I'd like to definitely get citizens on there. So if we were going to get this up to an odd number, the next odd number would be 9. That's a big committee, and it's going to make our quorum 5.
5.
So I mean that's not too bad, because we've always had a consistent amount of the 5. But if we were to reconfigure this, I think that's the time. I mean, I'm glad that people are already submitting their stuff, but I think it was premature for any solicitation of citizens' concerns before we even had this discussion, because then we had people emailing us and everything, and we didn't even know where we were going to go, if we were even going to do it. And we don't know yet. Maybe we did something we still need to vote on. So, personally, being on the committee, I don't want to respond too much because we're not in the discussion of responding to things, but I want to get people like Mr. Bordner, not necessarily say he is on, but people who have these assertions of some of the things that he said and who can speak to, I understand he's got building experience, but some of us on that committee do as well, especially with this particular building. And the people that we're paying big bucks to are some of the best in the region, maybe in the state, that know what these buildings will require. They've built these buildings time and time again, so I don't really, kudos to him for his experience and everything else that he's got going, but he's never built a public safety building. He has no idea what goes into these. He's never worked in one. So whatever buildings he has experience building and the other stuff that people have their assumptions of what needs to go in one of these buildings, they've never been as deep into the process as we have, and they don't know as much as what the people who are helping us build these concepts know about these buildings. So I think it would be great for people like him to get on this committee and actually see what's involved in it. I think that's what needs to change. I don't know if the composition of the committee itself needs to change. I think there needs to be more citizen input. Whether they're on the committee or not, people need to show up to these meetings and not just to the vote. Because most of the time, when they show up to our meetings that we've had, they have misconceptions left and right and assumptions that are so far out of fact. And if they would have showed up to the meetings, they would have understood that what they're going to these public meetings and getting up in front of people and saying is complete misconceptions. It's not the way that it is. So regardless of how many people we have on, that's great. We also need people to show up as well. You don't have to be on the committee to have an influence on the committee. People need to show up to these meetings if we are to go forward. So those are my opinions on it. I think everybody who's on the committee has great ideas. They've got a long history. They know where we've been. They know the sites. They know all the things we've done to vet the individual sites and places. I think one thing that everybody who's currently on the committee is running out of is steam on this. I don't think another failure is in the cards for many people, and I'll tell you, it's not for me. I wasted enough time on this, and we've put a lot of great ideas out to the public, and people just don't want to show up until it's time to vote something down. So I'd like to see as many people get involved in this as possible. So I think adding 3 more citizens to this committee is the way to go, in my own personal opinion.
So would you say, Heath, that the next 3 individuals should be citizens not connected to any department in Northfield?
Correct.
Okay. Sarah?
I asked people, I pointed out on Nextdoor that this was on our agenda. And I felt like, the last time when we did economic development, we didn't know what was, I knew that we weren't going to be making decisions tonight, but we didn't have as many people show up as everybody wanted, so I wanted to get those balls rolling. And I think that we have some pretty incredible experience in some of the applications. So I also have spoken, when I visited with the fire department, and I spoke specifically with the fire chief, and I said, what do you think about that? And he said he would absolutely support expanding as long as those people had relevant experience. And so I was actually really persuaded by the idea of somebody who has very specific building experience. We had another applicant who has specific government and emergency experience. So I think we have a great pool, and I understand that everybody's worked really hard, but sometimes putting a few new ideas is a good thing. And I think that almost everybody on the select board, B is the one that really stands out, and she's not here, but said, hey, let's add some more people to the committee. And so, or agreed or nodded or smiled or whatever. And so I think that I'm really behind putting some more citizens on the committee. I think it's a great idea. And the other thing is that I think that when you say people showing up for the meetings, the things that I've heard from people is they felt like it was kind of a juggernaut. There was a plan to do this thing, and they didn't feel like they could really contribute other than, they did some design things and some suggestions on design, but they felt like the notion had already been decided. And so I think that people would appreciate folks to have contributions before there was a predetermined outcome. That's all.
So, with this committee,
I do want to defend the committee. It took them years to get to that
It
notion.
did.
So there were years where people.
and I was just going to say that it took a long time for them to get to that point.
It's only when they
And
kind
With
of got
community
to that
meetings
one.
involved.
Yeah,
too.
see,
There
the thing
were
is,
public
it's-
meetings that people would show up to. We had
And then you have to
17
pick a
people.
concept and go
Yeah,
with it.
it's a very disappointing thing in government when you spend so much of your time that you could be spending with your loved ones or whatever it is that you want to do, and then getting to the point where you're at the town meeting and you just get shot down, humiliated, embarrassed, and told that we don't trust you, because that's pretty much what happened. And I've done the best I can for the past 5 years to be as open and as transparent as possible. And I was a feisty one when I first came on. Boy, I was calling out everybody on their BS, their baloney. And but I just feel like there was a lack of trust from the town's side of things. Like, we're trying to pull one over their eyes. And it really made me feel terrible when members of the fire department, I hate to say it, there were some of them during that town meeting that shunned the idea of what we were doing. And that was huge right there, that representatives of our town, our fire department, one of our departments in town, would question and challenge what was put forward between them. So what we need to do is what Heath said. We need more citizen input. I would like to see additional residents on it. Hopefully we can get a correct number of a quorum, because having more people sometimes can create a progress challenge, if you will. So
I just want to add, you want to do 3. Did you want, as you have done with other committees, did you want to do any focus on any of those individual members? You don't have to, but sometimes, like when you did the police screening committee, you wanted one of them to be an ex-police, I didn't know if you wanted to focus kind of, you may not. I just didn't know if you wanted.
I would just say they submit really strong citizen interest forms, because I think if we formally solicit it, we already got a response just from a Nextdoor post, but if we formally solicit that we're looking for 3 people and you are going to be paramount to this going forward in the future, your participation is required for this to go anywhere. I think we're going to get a lot of people, because this has been such a big thing. And I think that a lot of people, despite the naysayers, I think there's a lot of people who do completely recognize that this is a major priority for the town. It's just they didn't want to support that huge building. Why they didn't want to support the other one, I'm not sure, because yes, the size was big, but the price was great. But that's my own personal opinion. But I think, just regardless, I think we're going to get a decent response from people. So So they should submit a strong case on their citizen interest forms why we should take them on this committee, because we're probably going to have quite a few to sift through to pick them for this.
Absolutely.
Mr. Bordner makes a great case as to why he would be somebody that would be great for that committee. So, I mean, they're going to be kind of competing with people like him who have a great amount of experience. They're very vocal toward the cause, and they want to see it done. They just want to see it done in a responsible way in their eyes. So
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, are we good at this point? We'll just. What do you think? What do you need?
A date.
A date.
When is this due?
an
If you're going to
ending
say,
date.
we don't want the next meeting. That's really too short to get it out there. But if you do your
Give 'em a month.
September 19th meeting,
Yeah.
then I'd ask that we could have them in by like September 14th at noon, because then we could include them in the homework for your review, which is the Thursday before. If we get them by noon, we can put them in the homework packet. So really, if they could get them in, preferably the 13th, but certainly the 14th by noon, we can have it on the agenda, and then we can put the packet out, and you guys would have the weekend to look at them. And if you're lucky and you have a lot of them, you're going to want to have some time to look at them all.
Okay.
So we'll put out on the website this call and the deadline, and we really need to be strict about it because we need to get you all of them together.
Okay.
So citizens' interest forms by September 14th.
Right, by noon, because
By
we
noon.
send the packets out by 2 o'clock.
Okay.
I'll
so
make an
we-
announcement at the end of the meeting.
And then, right, and they are on the website, and Sandra, everything gets sent to Sandra because she collects them all. She also checks eligibility. People have to remember we have a committee eligibility requirement. You have to be a resident of Northfield.
Registered voter.
Yeah, you have to be a registered voter in Northfield, which means you have to be a resident for sure, but you have to be a registered voter, which is
That's right.
even a step further. So we now have discovered a couple times that didn't happen, so we now check.
Okay. Great.
So what happens, this is a question, not trying to put anything out there, but what happens in the interim on the Emergency Services Board? How often do you guys meet?
I don't think
we're in kind of a hiatus at the moment. Like we really,
I think they'll have time.
I think our, I mean, I can discuss briefly kind of what we discussed in the last meeting, but basically EMS was seeking a small amount of funds of what's available for project advancement to seek what their individual space needs would be, just on a basis of like a professional, not so much of design, but a schematic of what a square footage need would be just for EMS. I wasn't necessarily, I did vote in favor of it, but I did have my concerns that I just don't agree that we're supposed to be splitting up the departments, because that then creates all sorts of added costs of adding 3 buildings with 3 heating systems and everything that we've discussed a million times over. But ultimately, I think it was voted forward and for the fact that it was going to be valuable information to help determine where it was going to go, because who knows if this department turns out to be, after the regionalization stuff, do we include them, and does it become just a police department, fire department building, and then the EMS, how does it work? So I guess to explore all options, and it was a pretty nominal cost for all the money that we've spent on this building project so far, so they're investigating that portion. But I mean, our last couple of meetings since the last failed vote really have yielded minimal results, and sort of a where do we go from here type of concept. I think everybody's kind of deflated and doesn't know where to go from here. So I think it is in the committee's best interest to wait till a reconfiguration happens, get the people on there and start fresh with where we're going to go forward, because there really is no trajectory at this point.
And we just want to make it clear that because those minutes won't officially get approved till the bidding meets again, we did put the video on.
Yeah.
So the video's already on.
The videos are always up
So
before
people
the
can
minutes.
see the meeting even if they don't see
I
the
thought it
minutes.
wasn't it mostly executive session?
There was an executive session in the middle. So there are 2 pieces
I
that
see.
come together. He spliced it. So there was discussion after the executive session, so it was important to put that piece in.
Okay.
But we just didn't want people to say, oh, when will the minutes get? But so we put the video on.
Yep.
At the
Okay.
very least.
We're all set. Then next, Gulf Road closure, code red announcement.
Well, according to your policy, because this is going to be a Gulf Road closure on August 29th, which is next week, your policy is it's non-emergency, so the select board actually weighs in on whether or not you're okay with that announcement moving forward. It's to replace the culvert that has been damaged for a while. and it's just for the day. Their plan is to open it in the afternoon, but it would be closed during working hours that day. So we wanted to get that announcement out on Code Red as one of our new mechanisms under your new policy.
What do you think,
You
folks?
so approve.
I'm ambivalent. On the Code Red, I really want the voting to go out, and the others I'm willing to be led by the consensus.
I think it's important if we get it out there and a few people see it. Certain things. That is a town department, going to be closing that road. So I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards it. Don't yawn.
No, I'm sorry. Long day.
Do you have any feelings on it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's a good use of it. So
You know, I like to think like if I was not involved with the town like I am, and I was going down Main Street and I needed to get to Orange or to Irving, to the other side of the mountain, and and if I see that, oh, well, I wish I knew about that. I just like to think if I was in the perspective and I'm in my automobile and it's closed and I'm in town, well, I would have liked to have known. So I try to think of it that way. So.
Undoubtedly, there's going to be people who likely aren't signed up for Code Red. So if we didn't put it there's going to be people who are probably going to turn there anyways and be like, we should have some sort of announcement because they're going to be frustrated. So we could garner the complaint. So I think it's a good use of it.
I mean, he's going to put signs up, but we did have a letter specific when you were discussing that, and I think I brought that up, when you were discussing the change in policy of Code Red, specifically from a resident on Gulf Road who was very upset that it wasn't announced the last time you closed Gulf Road, and was very pleased to think that you might be doing this in the future. Very specific incident, but this exact one. So I do want to put a plug in for her letter, because she did send it.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to put the Gulf Road closure on Code Red.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Sorry.
No, I want to make a note of it so I get it. Okay.
All right. Topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. I can't think of anything. Okay. Committee and board appointments. We have a bunch of reappointments for election officers. Somebody want to read that and go for it?
Okay. I vote we reappoint election officers Victoria Lushka, Susan Secco, Catherine Johnson, Joe Graveline, Deborah Potee, Bethany Walker, Sandra Campbell, Pamela Eldridge, and Nina Sibley. Term expires 8/15/2024.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Proposed agenda items.
Have the list, seeing if we can get the interviews in for those two appointments, then presumably we'll have them at your next meeting, so that's why they're in tentative. And then I should have the Emergency Service Regionalization Efficiency Grant report at that time. So those are the ones that I know of for sure that I'm aiming for on the September 5th agenda.
I wanted to talk about, or ask to discuss, there are a couple of committees that aren't on the website and don't have any minutes, and they're subject to open meeting law, so I think that may be an issue. I think the ARPA committee, I wasn't able to find that, and the Town Hall Building Planning Committee.
They haven't met in, gosh, does that even exist anymore, the Town Hall, is there anybody on it?
Well, we just reappointed somebody to that committee.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, he's the only one on it, I think. Yeah.
He's the only one on the committee?
Alex is the select board representative.
But I don't think that committee has met in the entire 4.5 years I've been on.
No? Okay. And it's not on the website.
Well, I always enjoy it when we do the committee and board reappointments for things when we reorganize, because it's like, oh, I haven't had that one yet in a few years. Why hasn't it come up yet? So
if it's a committee and it's listed, I guess it was listed in one of the town books. Do we want to not have it? I mean, what's its purpose?
can put it on the agenda for that
Yeah.
exact
Oh,
discussion.
I'm so sorry.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
think
just
that's
forgot. I'm
exactly what
tired.
you're saying under agenda items.
Yeah.
It's a worthy discussion because it would go the fate of the C5 committee if that's the case.
Okay, I got it.
I don't know when we want to discuss this one, but I think it's fairly urgent that we do discuss it. Our electronic communications policy, it's definitely in need of updating. I've been made aware of several potential and very likely open meeting law violations regarding communications within the town and stuff. So I've sought out some other towns' policies and see stuff that we should have in ours. So I think it's worth revisiting and looking at those other policies and see if we can adopt anything to make us better in compliance.
We do have a whole bunch of new committees too that have gotten emails in the meantime, so we can refresh that policy.
Yeah, that would be great. That's definitely something. I have nothing at the moment. I never do. I usually, at the end of these meetings, I don't really have a whole lot to say in regards to what I'd like to discuss at our next meeting. So I usually go home and sleep on it.
And then come up with something.
And then working overnights at 3 a.m, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, that would be a good thing to talk about. So it's kind of my thing. So.
I have one more. I'm actually not sure. It may already be on there. When Andrea mentioned big light up signs for the parade, I'm going to beat the drum again about signs for elections and signs for voting and stuff like that. I'd like to find a solution for that because I think if we have big light up signs for a parade, we should have big light up signs for the election and big light up signs for voting. So no judgment there. I just want to make sure we solve it.
Like an LED marquee sign in front of
No,
the town hall?
no, don't go there.
That's a great way, yeah.
Town meeting voted down a town hall.
Oh, yeah.
Town meeting voted down a town hall sign. That's all I can
In front
say.
of Turner's Falls High School as an example, just saying.
We tried that
voted
route.
down
Yeah.
at the town meeting.
It did.
Well, I'm not
saying,
talking
yeah.
about that. I'm just talking about anything.
Yeah.
The
Right?
sign, the sign that we could put out, the one that we have, the trailered one for different.
Well, that
things.
one,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the police to talk
Well,
to.
we put the highway department could put it out. They put it out at the last one, but I mean, even when it was an election or voting, I can't remember which, and I came by and there were signs for the 350th on the front lawn, but there weren't any signs that said, "Hey, vote today" or something like that. And most towns have that, or they put up one of those big curvy flags that says "Vote today" or something like that. I really would like to make sure that we do that because some people are like, "Oh, I didn't know it was a whatever." Didn't know it was time to vote.
All right, if we're all set, Heath, you good?
Good.
Okay, we will move on then to announcements. So the first announcement, I'll take care of these, is for the highway superintendent, Tom Walker. Gulf Road will be closed August 29th for a culvert replacement. You've heard it from me, so that's good. And then, once again, the citizen interest application for the Emergency Services Building Committee, 3 members, is due at noon on September 14th, 2023. You have less than a month. That is the deadline, and hopefully we get some good applications then so we can move forward. I do have another announcement. I have permission from Michelle Browning to mention this. I would like to announce the unfortunate passing of one of Northfield's, Sam Browning. Sam was a pioneer of this town. He just lost his battle with cancer. This was a man who was a father, a husband, a grandfather, a friend, and a trucker and a leader. And he was somebody that you could go pull into his driveway at any time. And if you needed something, he would be there for you. It happened to me quite a few times over the years with stuff of mine breaking down. And probably one of the most educated men of an era who just knew how to craft and build things and create things with the most simplest stuff that this earth has to offer. And I know it's not necessarily on the agenda, but I wanted to use it as an announcement because this is a man who has been in this town practically his whole life, and for what he did for Northfield from the perspective of being a town resident that anybody could speak to or go to means a lot, not only to me as a person, as a father, but also as a select board member. And lastly, I'll just say that I think that Northfield has lost a legend, but I would say that heaven definitely gained one for my beliefs. So he was a great man, and I'm going to miss him a lot. And I know a lot of people are going to feel the same way about that. So I just wanted to put that out there. So
I have one announcement. Volunteers for the parade. We're looking for volunteers in the parade. Reach out to me. I will give you to the person who's the volunteer coordinator. I will send you her way, and she's doing all the volunteer coordinating. But we do need a fair number of volunteers on parade day. There'll be one meeting the week before and then parade day. This isn't a heavy lift for weeks and weeks and weeks. Just one morning meeting the week before and then on parade day to come forward and help with all the work.
Sandra, if I could just have that in the minutes, what I said or just that I stated, I'd really appreciate that. So that's just all I'm saying. So I just would like to also offer one quick recognition of service for Tom and the boys on doing the paving in the parking lot. I stopped by there a couple times briefly just to check in on them and kind of just be there just to see how they're doing. They work hard. They
worked on some hot days,
oh,
let me tell you.
Did they?
With paving, you know, but with digging that dirt. Oh.
So props to the highway boys for doing
messy.
their thing. So
Very complex project.
yeah. So well done, Tommy and the crew.
Also, recognition for the teacher administrator who left, who had been a long-time person.
Kathy Hawkins Harrison.
Kathy Hawkins Harrison.
Yes, another amazing figure for the students and for the staff at Pioneer.
She was a pleasure to work with.
Oh yeah.
She loved that school. Absolutely love that place.
I just don't want people to go till they
Yes,
sign.
so we got a bunch of signatures.
Don't run.
So
Just
don't run
to
away.
sign.
Yeah. Well, that wraps everything up. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody has to sign that.
Night, folks.